Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. Dynamite tonight was from the Spokane Arena in Spokane, Washington, and this was a special Dynamite tonight. This was Title Tuesday because tomorrow on TBS they're doing the MLB postseason playoffs, so that's why Dynamite was moved to tonight. And this was their go-home show for WrestleDream, which is this Saturday. And Dynamite tonight, I thought it was an okay show, in my opinion. The Dynamite was going up against the second hour of NXT tonight, which I did watch the first hour of NXT, and it was pretty good. Was enjoying what I was seeing. But tonight on Dynamite, we had Hologram making his Dynamite debut because, he was always on Collision. So he made his Dynamite debut against Komander. We had Nightingale versus Nyla Rose versus Saraya versus Jamie Hayter. This was a AEW Women's World Championship eliminator match where the winner will get to face Mariah May for the AEW Women's World Championship this Saturday at WrestleDream. Jay White was in action. He ended up taking on a jobber, Cody Chhun. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. We had the TBS Championship and the New Japan Strong Women's Championship on the line, where Mercedes Mone defended both titles against Amy Sakura. And the main event, we had Bryan Danielson and Willow Yuta. They have taken on Claudio Castagnoli and Pac. Of course, Claudio Castagnoli and Pac are two halves of the World Trios champions. Willow Yuta is, one half of the Trios champions along with Claudio and Pac. But overall, Dynamite tonight, it was an okay show, in my opinion. Was it a great show by any means? No. Like I say, I liked Dynamite better than I did Monday Night Raw last night. But before I get into the review, if you guys haven't checked out my previous video that I uploaded earlier today, I did a movie review of Colors from 1988, which, stars Robert Duvall and Sean Penn. So if you guys haven't seen my review of that, definitely go check it out. But really enjoyed the film. It was very good. And like I said, check out my review of it if you guys haven't seen it. Also, my Monday Night Raw review is up from last night. So check out that if you guys haven't seen it. But anyway, let's jump right into the review. Dynamite opened up tonight with Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley cut a promo. He was talking about a wake-up call for AEW, as well as Bryan Danielson's Dark Side ahead of their match this Saturday at WrestleDream for the AEW World Championship. Moxley ended up saying that as Bryan's world closes in around him, he will embrace that dark side. And Moxley ended up saying that he will be ready. He ended up saying that he has to be, but he doesn't have a choice. Moxley ended up saying that there are not enough people in the state of Washington to stop him at WrestleDream, where he will run into the mouth of war. Moxley ended up saying that he hopes that one day Bryan will understand. And it's got to be this way. But he doesn't have time to worry about that right now. And that the stakes are too high. So pretty much, that was basically what Moxley had to say. But very good promo from Moxley here. Ahead of his match with Bryan this Saturday at WrestleDream for the World Championship. I think it's going to be a very good match come Saturday. I think it's going to be a good back and forth match between them. Of course, you have Maria Shafir, accompanying Moxley. We'll see how, the match goes down on Saturday. But very much looking forward to it. And then we saw Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson was backstage, and he was running down Claudio for Claudio's, comments to Bryan, saying that Bryan's last match on Dynamite will be tonight. So Bryan ended up talking about him and Claudio's history together and what it means for the main event match later on tonight. So Bryan had to say, that about the recent comments that Claudio made to him. And then we had Darby Allin. Darby Allin ended up making his way out, and he ended up grabbing a mic. Darby Allin ended up calling out Brody King. So we saw a look at Darby and Brody's feud, which happened in the summer of 2022, which, was good. Really enjoyed that feud between Darby and Brody. And of course, they showed, video of their battle, that happened a few months back. So Brody King made his way out to the ring. Darby got on the mic, and he ended up thanking Brody for the challenge at WrestleDream. He ended up saying that he wished Brody wouldn't just act nicely. So Darby ended up talking about him and Brody's history together. Darby ended up going on to talk about Brody being signed to Ring of Honor before Ring of Honor got shut down and before it got purchased by Tony Khan. To which nobody watches Ring of Honor because it's online. I haven't seen anybody online talk about the more recent Ring of Honor. So Darby ended up addressing the idea that Brody is after his spot. Darby ended up saying that he was never expected to be as big a name as he's become. And then he was interrupted by Brody King. Brody ended up talking about Darby's death wish and his dream to climb Mount Everest. Brody ended up saying that Darby has what he wants, but he isn't one to put it to waste. So we had Darby end up getting pissed. He ended up telling Brody to put him out of his misery if he wants the spot so bad. Darby ended up dropping to the corner, and he ended up stepping back to stand, nose to nose with Brody King. So we had Darby was just barking in the corner, and then the crowd started, barking along with Darby. So both Darby and Brody ended up shoving each other. Darby ended up unveiling a rock, and he was ready to hit Brody with the rock. So security ended up rushing in to intervene, both Darby and Brody. We saw Brody end up bleeding from the sneak attack by Darby, and it looked like Darby hit Brody with the rock that he had. But Darby must have busted some of Brody's teeth because Brody was bleeding from the mouth, when Darby ended up hitting Brody with the rock. But that was basically how the segment ended. Darby ended up getting out of the ring. But I thought this was a good segment here with Darby Allin and Brody King. Darby just talking about him and Brody's history, saying, Darby ended up saying about how he ended up bringing Brody to AEW, after Ring of Honor ended up shutting down, where Darby ended up saying that he went to Tony Khan and told Tony Khan to hire Brody. So I like that we got that, little bit of history between the both of them. But this match between Darby and Brody this Saturday at WrestleDream, we've seen Darby and Brody go at it before, but they never disappointed, in their matches together. So, Looking forward to it. And then we had Jake Roberts backstage. And Jake Roberts was with Lance Archer. Don Callis ended up interrupting. So Don Callis ended up revealing the first ever manager-to-manager talent exchange. And this allowed Don Callis to acquire Lance Archer from Jake Roberts. So Renee Paquette was trying to find out what all this means, but Don Callis ended up leaving with Lance Archer. So Jake Roberts appeared to be keeping his end of this exchange a little secret. So what this basically means is Lance Archer now a part of the Don Callis family because Don Callis ended up acquiring Lance Archer away from Jake Roberts? Maybe. But at the same time, if this happens, and if Lance Archer is a part of the Don Callis family, this makes no sense whatsoever. So we'll have to wait and see. Do I think that Lance Archer will be a part now of the Don Callis family? Probably, after what we saw. And then, as Dynamite came back from the commercial, we saw Renee Paquette. Renee Paquette was interviewing Danny Garcia. This was earlier in the day. So she was interviewing Danny Garcia about his future in AEW. So Danny Garcia ended up promising Renee that he's going to address his future with AEW with the fans soon. So that was basically that. And then we had the first match of the night. Hologram versus Komander. This was Hologram's Dynamite debut. If you watch Collision, Hologram has been a part of Collision since he debuted there. And this was just a little taste of what, fans watching Dynamite will see in Hologram. The fans who don't watch Collision on Saturdays. But I thought this was an entertaining match here. We had Hologram end up making his way out, and Komander end up making his way out after. So the match got underway. We had both Hologram and Komander end up locking up. Komander started wrenching Hologram's arm. Hologram ended up countering out of that. So Komander ended up taking control of the match. Hologram started to fight back to take Komander down. We had both Komander and Hologram end up going at it. And we had a standoff between the both of them, which got a round of applause from the fans there in Spokane. So Hologram ended up hitting the ropes. He connected with a Deja Vu arm drag to Komander, which sent Komander out of the ring. And Hologram followed up with a dive through the ropes, sending Komander into the barricade. So Hologram brought Komander back to the ring, and he ended up sending Komander to the ropes, and Hologram ended up landing a flapjack into a big kick to Komander. So Hologram ended up going for the cover, and Komander ended up kicking out. Hologram transitioned into a submission. It was like a toe hold of sorts. He kept the leg of Komander bent back, but Komander ended up managing to relieve the pressure enough to get on his knees. He tried to counter out of that, and it ended with Hologram breaking up the hold, and Hologram ended up dropping Komander down. He ended up going for a near fall. So then Dynamite went to commercial. Then as Dynamite came back from the commercial, we had Komander end up breaking free of a gory special that was locked in on Hologram during the picture-in-picture. So Komander ended up hitting the ropes for a kick to Hologram, and Hologram ended up evading a right hand by Komander. Komander ended up using the ropes as a launch pad. He ended up setting up for arm drag, which took Hologram out of the ring. Komander ended up meeting Hologram with a big dive over the top rope, which was cool. So both men got back into the ring. Komander headed to the corner. Hologram ended up intercepting Komander, which led to a modified Spanish fly, which sent both guys down to the canvas, which was good. That awesome spot there with a Spanish fly. So Hologram ended up getting back up. He climbed to the top rope. He went for 450 splash to Komander, but Komander ended up getting his knees up. Hologram ended up clutching himself in pain, and he rolled out of the ring. Komander took it to the ropes, and Komander walked along the top rope. Hologram leapt up to meet Komander, and he was looking to go for a Hurricanrana. But no, Komander delivered a power bomb to Hologram. Another good spot here. But Komander couldn't go for the pin. He couldn't capitalize on that power bomb. So both guys end up going back at it. Komander ended up getting a reverse Rana on Hologram. So Komander ended up taking it to the ropes. He was set up for the airplane spin into a power bomb, which gave Hologram a win. So Hologram ended up winning the match. Post-match, Jake Roberts stepped out onto the stage, and we saw Rush, Dralistico, and the Beast Mortos. They blindsided both Hologram and Komander. They ended up beating Hologram and Komander down. So Rush, Dralistico, and the Beast Mortos stood tall with their fists up, and Jake Roberts was raising his fists up in solidarity. So we now find out that, with the talent exchange, Jake Roberts is going to be, with Rush, Dralistico, and the Beast Mortos. He's going to be accompanying them. So pretty much that was basically that. But overall, awesome, good match from Hologram and Komander here. More Hologram on Dynamite, please. He's done a good job in matches on Collision, but for the fans that don't watch Collision on Saturdays, and they liked what they saw of Hologram here tonight, more Hologram on Dynamite. Please, Tony Khan. And then we had Mark Briscoe backstage with Renee Paquette. Briscoe ended up accosting Jericho for what he said. He ended up saying Jericho didn't have to take it there. Briscoe ended up saying that he's not going to like where he is because he's going to hurt the learning tree this Saturday. So that was what, Mark Briscoe had to say. And then we had Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia ended up coming out. He got a big ovation from the crowd there in Spokane. So Danny Garcia got on the mic. He ended up giving the crowd plenty of thanks for supporting him. And so Danny Garcia then addressed his future in AEW. He ended up saying that he doesn't want to be a guy who disappears without explanation. Danny Garcia ended up saying that he feels it's important to come out here, look everyone in the eye, and tell them what he's going to do. Danny Garcia ended up saying that he came to the conclusion that he can do whatever he wants because he is one of the best wrestlers in the world and because he is one of the best in the world. He ended up saying that he believes it's important that he stays where the best wrestle, in AEW. So the crowd ended up chanting AEW in support of Danny Garcia. So Danny Garcia ended up saying, that the Danny Garcia that is staying in AEW is not the one who gets little brothered by everyone in the back, but one that proves how good he really is by earning gold around his waist. Danny Garcia ended up saying that no champion is safe. The feeling is restored. So that was basically what Danny Garcia had to say. So Danny Garcia is putting everyone in the back on notice, saying that he wants to earn gold around his waist, and that no champion is safe. So, but I thought it was a decent promo from Danny Garcia here. And then we had a video package. We saw the arrival of MVP and Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin, of course, made his debut last week on Dynamite. And this is pretty much basically saying that, MVP wants to accompany Swerve Strickland into this whole Hurt Business 2.0 thing, or whatever they're going to call it. So Swerve is set to make an appearance this Saturday at WrestleDream, and I think that Swerve is going to turn down MVP's offer, and that's going to lead to the debut of Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley's going to come in, and he's going to beat down on Swerve. So that's how the way I see it going. I think maybe on Saturday, we will get the debut of Bobby Lashley in AEW. But that's my prediction. And then, as Dynamite came back from the commercial, we saw Renee Paquette. Renee Paquette was interviewing Mercedes Mone. Of course, Mercedes was with Camille. And Renee was talking to Mercedes about the words Amy Sakura had to say about Mercedes ahead of their match later on in the night. Mercedes ended up telling Renee that it's not the last time a Queen's talked trash, and it won't be the last. She ended up saying that Amy Sakura will fall tonight because money changes everything. So her and Camille end up walking away, and that was basically that. Then we went to Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia was getting some appreciation from the guys in the back. And then Katsuyori Shibata ended up coming up to Danny Garcia. Of course, Siri had to translate what Shibata, was going to say to Danny Garcia. So Shibata ended up offering some congratulations to Danny Garcia and also a challenge to a match. So Danny Garcia ended up accepting the match. So we're going to get Katsuyori Shibata versus Danny Garcia. That should be a good match there. So looking forward to it. And then we had Will Nightingale versus Saraya versus Nyla Rose versus Jamie Hayter. This was an AEW Women's Championship eliminated match where the winner of this match will get to face Mariah May this Saturday at WrestleDream for the AEW Women's World Championship. And we have Mariah May on commentary here, which was cool to hear Mariah May on commentary. I think she did really well, on commentary. But the match here, it was a solid women's match here. Will Nightingale ended up heading out to the ring first, and then Saraya came out. She was accompanied by, of course, Harley Cameron. Nyla Rose ended up coming out after Saraya, and then Jamie Hayter came out last. So the match got underway, where we saw Saraya end up leaving the ring to take a breather. Nyla Rose ended up going after Nightingale. Jamie Hayter ended up intervening. She ended up sending Nyla Rose into the corner. Nyla Rose started to fight back. She set Jamie Hayter up on the turnbuckle. Nightingale ended up stepping in to go for a powerbomb, which Nyla Rose ended up countering that with a Hurricanrana to Will Nightingale. Jamie Hayter then followed up, and she ended up sending Nyla Rose to the outside. So Jamie Hayter and Will Nightingale ended up looking to square off, but Saraya and Harley Cameron end up getting involved. So, of course, Harley Cameron got involved because this match, of course, has no disqualifications. So, Will Nightingale and Jamie Hayter ended up sending Saraya and Harley Cameron to the outside. And all four women were going at it. And Nyla Rose was at the top, and she delivered a massive dive onto the woman on the outside. So then Dynamite went to commercial. Then when Dynamite came back from the commercial, we had Saraya and Jamie Hayter end up going at it, which was during the picture-in-picture. Nyla Rose and Saraya end up making their way back to the ring. And we had all four women end up on the canvas. Saraya was then sent out of the ring, which led to Jamie Hayter catching Will Nightingale and Nyla Rose, and she delivered a double suplex to the both of them. Saraya then slid into the ring with a chair, but Jamie Hayter ended up catching Saraya. Hayter ended up grabbing the chair from Saraya, and then Hayter ended up going after Saraya. Harley Cameron ended up intervening, and Penelope Ford ended up coming down the ramp. Penelope Ford has been out for a year with an injury. So I'm like, Penelope Ford coming out here very randomly with a chair of her own, and she blindsided Jamie Hayter. So we had, back in the ring, Nyla Rose ended up going after Will Nightingale. Saraya ended up trying to get involved, and Nyla Rose was in control. She ended up teasing, using a table because the table was on the outside. Nyla Rose ended up climbing the turnbuckle, but Harley Cameron ended up sending Nyla Rose to the outside, and Harley Cameron ended up helping Saraya try to set the table up at ringside. So Nightingale ended up catching Saraya. Saraya ended up catching Will Nightingale with a good night, and then Harley ended up helping Saraya set up the table in the corner, but Will Nightingale ended up firing back. Willow ended up sending Harley Cameron down with a doctor bomb, and then Saraya tried to intervene. Nightingale ended up hoisting Saraya up, and she delivered a Death Valley driver to Saraya through the table, and she ended up pulling her toward Harley Cameron, and she ended up going for the cover on both Saraya and Harley Cameron. And so there you go. Will Nightingale ended up winning the match. So she ends up getting to face Mariah May this Saturday at WrestleDream for the AEW Women's World Championship. It was a rematch with Nightingale and Mariah May. So post-match, Will Nightingale ended up going up the ramp. She ended up standing off with Mariah May. So Mariah May ended up going to slap Will Nightingale, which Nightingale ended up blocking that slap. But Mariah ended up nailing Will Nightingale with a headbutt. And pretty much that was basically that. But overall, this was a solid AEW Women's World Championship Eliminator match. Obviously, Will Nightingale was going to get the win. And with Penelope Ford back, I'm curious to see where this is going with Penelope Ford and Jamie Hayter. So obviously, this is Jamie Hayter's, next feud. She's going to be feuding with Penelope Ford. But solid match it was. And then we went backstage, and we saw the learning tree. It's like every single week, TK has to book the learning tree on Dynamite. Please, can we get 1 week where we don't have to see the learning tree on TV? Please. It's like they're shoving the learning tree down our throats. So we saw the learning tree, Bryan, Keith, Big Bill, Chris Jericho. They were having a heart-to-heart with Rocky Romero. They ended up offering a lesson to Rocky Romero, talking about how the conglomeration have treated Rocky Romero. And they ended up suggesting to Rocky Romero that when you're in the picture, you fail to see what the big picture is. So Bryan Keith ended up telling Rocky Romero to respect the future Ring of Honor World Champion in Chris Jericho. So now they want Jericho to go after the Ring of Honor World Championship. Does anybody care? Obviously no. And I don't care either. I mean, who watches Ring of Honor? So you mean to tell me that Jericho is now going to go after the Ring of Honor World Championship? Then we had Jay White versus Cody Chhun. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. This was just a momentum match for Jay White. Jay White won the match. He ended up laying in the Blade Runner on Cody Chhun. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Of course, we had Juice Robinson out there. Rock hard, Juice Robinson. So post-match, Jay White got on the mic, and he called out Hangman Page as one of two wrongs that he needs to correct. He ended up saying that Page is lucky number one. Jay White ended up saying that he knows Hangman Page won't be quiet about it, and that he's coming for him. And Jay White ended up saying that's perfect, because that's exactly what he wants. So Jay White ended up challenging Page to a match, looking to make the first step toward getting that gold he wants so bad. So Jay White then ended up addressing those who have booed him before now cheering him. He ended up telling Page that it all starts this Saturday at WrestleDream. So he was like, giddy up, cowboy. And that was basically that. But this is Jay White's, next feud with Hangman and Page here. So, but really glad Jay White is back. Obviously, this was just a momentum match that we saw tonight for Jay White. And then we saw Hook backstage. Hook was telling whoever attacked his father, Taz, to reveal themselves. So Kip Sabian bumped into Hook. Kip Sabian ended up assisting Hook that he wasn't involved in attacking Taz. So Kip Sabian ended up running off. Hook started back up, and Christian Cage ended up stepping in. Christian Cage was with Nick Wayne and Shayna Wayne. Christian Cage ended up asking Hook if he's seen Kip Sabian. Hook then brushed that off. He ended up asking if Christian Cage had something to say to him. Christian Cage ended up saying that he sympathizes with Hook. Because he ended up saying that since he lost Killswitch at the moment to a serious medical issue, he had prayers to Killswitch. He has, he came down with pneumonia, and he had to be taken to, a hospital. So prayers and a speedy recovery for Killswitch. So Christian ended up referring to Taz's being gone as the loss of your father to Hook. So pretty much that was basically that. So then we have Renee Paquette. Renee Paquette was interviewing Mariah May as Dynamite came back from the commercial. But as soon as Renee was going to interview Mariah was then blindsided by Will Nightingale with a pounce. So Will ended up promising to win the AEW Women's World Championship this Saturday at WrestleDream. Sorry, Willow, you're not winning the AEW Women's World Championship. Mariah May is definitely retaining at WrestleDream. No way that they're taking the title off of Mariah. And then we had Mercedes Mone versus Amy Sakura. This was a double title match where the TBS Championship is on the line and the New Japan Strong Women's Championship on the line. Mercedes Mone defending both titles. So Mercedes ended up making her way out first, of course accompanied by Camille. And then Amy Sakura made her way to the ring. And this was just a very meh match here. So the match got underway. Sakura ended up going on Mercedes. She ended up sending Mercedes into the corner. Mercedes turned it around with a chop to Sakura. Mercedes ended up sending Sakura to another corner, but Sakura ended up turning things around to lay in some chops of her own on Mercedes. Mercedes then dropped to the canvas, but she was able to fight Sakura to get back to her feet. So Mercedes ended up grabbing Sakura's hand, and she headed to the ropes for an arm drag, but Sakura ended up fighting back with a right hand to Mercedes. Mercedes ended up going to the corner as Sakura ended up charging at Mercedes, but Mercedes ended up getting out of the way, which forced Sakura to the outside. And that led to Mercedes connecting with the Meteora, which sent Sakura down to the floor. So then Dynamite went to commercial. Then when Dynamite came back from the commercial, Mercedes was in control of the match. And we had Amy Sakura end up sending Mercedes into the corner with a chop. Sakura was brought down hard with a backstabber by Mercedes. And Mercedes ended up going for the cover, to which Sakura ended up kicking out. So we had Sakura end up evading a drop kick and a Meteora attempt from Mercedes, and she ended up bringing Mercedes to the outside. Sakura ended up keeping Camille by attacking Mercedes and sending her onto the barricade. So we had Sakura end up connecting with a crossbody to both Camille and Mercedes. Sakura ended up bringing Mercedes back into the ring. She ended up sending Mercedes up for a backbreaker that drove Mercedes down to the canvas, but Mercedes ended up managing to get out of the way. And that led to the ref being distracted by Mercedes. And that led to Camille tripping up Sakura. That allowed Mercedes to lock in the statement maker, and she pulls Sakura back too far for Sakura to do anything. So Sakura ended up tapping out. The ref called for the bell. So there you go. Mercedes Moné ended up winning the match, retaining both titles. Retained both the TBS Championship and the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. So post-match, Mercedes and Camille end up looked to beat down on Sakura. And then Chris Statlander ended up running down to make the save. And Chris Statlander ended up forcing Camille to hang herself up on the ropes on a big boot attempt. And we had Mercedes end up retreating up the ramp. And that was basically that. So, let me get this straight. You turn Chris Statlander a babyface when you turned her heel just to have her face off against her friend Will Nightingale. Just to have her drop Stokely as well and drop her heel. Drop her as a heel. Only for her to revert back to a babyface. So pretty much basically what they're telling us is Chris Statlander being a heel and going against her friend Will Nightingale and feuding with Willow was a big waste of time. For all of us. I don't know why you have Chris Statlander go back to being a babyface when they just turned her heel to face off against a friend, Will Nightingale. This does not make any sense. But overall, very meh match it was between Mercedes and Amy Sakura. And then we have Private Party backstage. Private Party ended up hearing Stokely Hathaway out, as Stokely ended up offering his services. So Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy, and Mark Gwen ended up asking Stokely Hathaway where he has been the past 5 years, when they were struggling. Stokely Hathaway ended up realizing that he is being rejected, and promises that they will regret this. And the Private Party ended up talking about how much they need to win the tag titles this Saturday at WrestleDream. So, pretty much that was that. Stokely has an interest in Private Party. I mean, this should be a fun match at WrestleDream on Saturday. for the AEW World Tag Team titles. And then we had Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone was in the ring, and he welcomed Will Ospreay. So we had Ospreay end up believing that Takeshita doesn't do anything without the direction of Don Callis. So Ospreay ended up telling Don Callis to come out. Because, of course, Will Ospreay ended up addressing his match against Ricochet last week, and Konosuke Takeshita got involved. And, of course, there will be a three-way match for the International Championship at WrestleDream this Saturday. So Don Callis ended up coming out. Don Callis got a lot of boos from the crowd. Don Callis was looking for a hug from Ospreay, but Ospreay was not having any of this. So Ospreay ended up demanding Don Callis to tell him if he sent Takeshita out to attack him last week. So Don Callis ended up telling Ospreay that he heard about the situation. He admitted that he did send Takeshita out there, out of frustration, to teach him a lesson. So Don Callis ended up saying that he's still upset that Ospreay refused his help 2 weeks ago, when the titles were on the line. Ospreay ended up saying that he gives out to Don Callis about this, reminding Callis that he is the best wrestler in the world. To which Don Callis ended up saying that he threw the best wrestler in the world out in the garbage when it was necessary, and that he's not afraid to do it again. So Ospreay ended up telling Don Callis that he can't believe he ever had any respect for him, and that they're done. So this was a very heated argument between Ospreay and Don Callis. So Don Callis ended up slapping Ospreay. Ospreay ended up sending Don Callis into the corner, and then Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita ended up running out. Takeshita ended up laying out Ospreay as Don Callis ended up telling Kyle Fletcher to attack Ospreay, because Ospreay ended up narrowly stopping himself attacking his best friend in Kyle Fletcher. So Fletcher was handed a screwdriver, but he refused to attack Ospreay with the screwdriver. And he ended up nearly attacking Don Callis instead, and then Takeshita ended up intervening. So Ricochet ended up running out to make the save, and the Don Callis family ended up retreating up the ramp as Ricochet checked on Ospreay. So pretty much that was basically how the segment ended. But I thought this was a decent segment here with Ospreay, coming out there, calling out Don Callis, asking Callis if he sent Takeshita out to attack him last week, and things got heated between Don Callis and Ospreay. So then we had Top Flight. Top Flight was backstage, and they ended up addressing losing their shot at the number one contendership for the titles. And then Action Andretti ended up venting his frustration. And we had Top Flight end up discussing what they would do with Action Andretti. And then pretty much that was that. And then as Dynamite came back from the commercial, we saw Jack Perry backstage. Jack Perry addressed Katsuyori Shibata ahead of their match for the TNT Championship at WrestleDream. Jack Perry ended up saying that he wants to face the absolute best version of Shibata this Saturday. He ended up saying that he believes Shibata deserves to be the TNT champion. But lately, he has come to understand that it's not about what someone deserves. So Jack Perry ended up telling Shibata that if he wants the TNT championship, to come get it. So that was what Jack Perry had to say. I think it's going to be a decent match with Jack Perry and Katsuyori Shibata this Saturday at WrestleDream for the TNT Championship. It should be enjoyable. Main event. Bryan Danielson and Willow Yuta. They end up taking on Claudio Castagnoli and Pac. Of course, we had Bryan Danielson end up coming out first. We had the final countdown end up playing. Willow Yuta also made his way out. And next, Claudio Castagnoli and Pac end up making their way out. And this was a good main event here. This was a good match. Match started off with Bryan and Pac in the ring. Bryan ended up charging at Claudio to send him off the apron with a drop kick. Pac ended up going on the attack on Bryan, sending Bryan out of the ring. Yuta ended up coming in to get involved. Yuta ended up leaving the ring, assisting Bryan in by bringing Pac back into the ring. Bryan ended up going for a surfboard stretch on Pac, and then he tagged in Willow Yuta. Willow Yuta ended up delivering a drop kick to Pac, and we had Willow Yuta end up going for the cover, and Pac ended up kicking out. We had Claudio end up tagging in. Claudio ended up laying into Bryan, wearing him down with a series of stomps. He ended up driving his boot into Bryan's face. We had Pac end up tagging in. Pac ended up going after Bryan, but Bryan ended up escaping a back suplex from Pac, and he tagged in Yuta. Yuta ended up rushing into the ring with some offense, which sent Pac to the corner. And Yuta ended up delivering a German suplex to Pac. He ended up going for the cover, to which Pac ended up kicking out. We had Yuta end up locking in the cattle mutilation on Pac. Claudio ended up stepping in to break up the cattle mutilation. Yuta ended up standing up to Castagnoli, and we had Bryan end up sending Castagnoli out with a drop kick, but Pac ended up sending Bryan to the outside. Claudio ended up delivering the neutralizer to Bryan. Pac ended up catching Yuta with a thrust kick, and he took control of the match as Dynamite went to commercial. Then, as Dynamite came back from the commercial, we had Bryan still out on the floor. Yuta ended up slowly fighting back to his feet. He ended up escaping a back body drop from Claudio. So Claudio ended up taking Yuta down, and he tagged Pac into the match. Pac ended up keeping Yuta down. He ended up climbing to the turnbuckle. He ended up jumping into a thrust kick delivered by Willow Yuta, which was cool. So both Yuta and Pac were down. So Claudio ended up bringing Yuta back into the corner. Willow Yuta ended up trying to fight back against Claudio. And we had Yuta being propped up on the turnbuckle by Claudio. Yuta ended up fighting off Claudio, and then he tagged in Bryan. Bryan delivered a missile dropkick on Claudio. He ended up catching Claudio in the corner with a series of drop kicks and some chops and some kicks. Bryan then propped Claudio up on the turnbuckle, but Claudio ended up fighting out of a powerbomb, which got reversed into a hurricanrana by Bryan, which was cool. So Bryan then started laying in some kicks. He ended up taking Claudio down with a roundhouse kick. Bryan then grabbed Claudio's hands, promising to kick Claudio in his head with some stomps, and then Pac ended up intervening. So at the end of the match, we had Bryan end up locking in the label lock on Pac. Pac ended up tapping out, and the ref called for the bell. So there you go. Bryan and Willow Yuta ended up winning the match. Post-match, we had Claudio, Pac, and Maria Shafir ended up going after Willow Yuta because Jon Moxley and Maria Shafir were at ringside, and that distracted Bryan, which gave Claudio an opportunity to hit an uppercut on Bryan. So Bryan and Mox end up going at it. They started brawling to the back. So in the ring, we saw Claudio having the timekeeper hammer for the ring bell, and he ended up slamming the hammer on Yuta. So Bryan and Mox end up bringing their brawl back to ringside. Bryan ended up sending Moxley away. He then ended up delivering the Busaiku knee to Claudio. Claudio ended up rolling out of the ring as Mox and Maria Shafir ended up retreating up the ramp. And pretty much that was basically how Dynamite went off the air. overall, this was a good main event here between Bryan, Yuta, and Claudio and Pac. And the match on Saturday between Bryan and Moxley, should be, in my opinion, match of the night. So we'll see how that goes. Overall, Dynamite tonight was an okay show. I mean, did it do anything to hype us up for WrestleDream on Saturday? No. But still, I'm going to check out WrestleDream on Saturday. But anyway, that's it for the Dynamite review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And until next video, I'll see you all later.